Engine fuel and fuel metering systems. The device that controls the volume of the air-fuel mixture to the cylinders is called a throttle valve. Where physical separation of the fuel lines from electrical wiring or conduit is impractical, locate the fuel line. Answer: below the wiring and clamp the line securely to the airframe structure. Which of the following best describes the function of an altitude mixture control? Answer: regulates the richness of the fuel-air charge entering the engine. On an engine equipped with a pressure-type carburetor, fuel supply in the idling range is ensured by the inclusion of the carburetor of. Answer: a spring in the unmetered fuel chamber to supplement the action of normal metering forces. The economizer system of a flow-type carburetor performs which of the following functions? Answer: it supplies and regulates the additional fuel required for all engine speeds above cruising. The economizer system in a flow-type carburetor. Answer: increases the fuel-air ratio at high power settings. The fuel metering force of a conventional float-type carburetor in its normal operating range is the difference between the pressure acting on the discharge nozzle located within the venturi and the pressure acting on the fuel in the float chamber. The device that controls the ratio of the air-fuel mixture to the cylinders is called a. Answer: mixture control. The metered fuel pressure in an injection-type carburetor. Answer: is held constant throughout the entire engine operating range. Select the correct statement concerning the idle system of a conventional float-type carburetor. Answer: the low pressure between the edges of the throttle valve and the throttle body pulls the fuel from the idle passage. One of the best ways to increase engine power and control detonation and pre-ignition is to. Answer: use water injection. When troubleshooting an engine that will not idle, what would be a probable cause? Answer: economizer valve not operating correctly. What is the final authority for the details of carburetor overhaul? Answer: the manufacturer's recommendations. Which method is commonly used to adjust the level of a float in a float-type carburetor? Answer: add or remove shims under the needle valve seat. An aircraft engine equipped with a pressure-type carburetor is started with the. Answer: primer while the mixture control is positioned at idle cutoff. During engine operation, if carburetor heat is applied, it will. Answer: decrease the air density to the carburetor. If the idling jet becomes clogged in a float-type carburetor, the. Answer: engine will not idle. If fuel is found running from the carburetor with the engine not running, the likely cause is that the. Answer: float needle valve is not seated properly. An aircraft engine continuous cylinder fuel injection system normally discharges fuel during which stroke? Answer: all. Under which of the following conditions would an engine run lean even though there is a normal amount of fuel present? Answer: incomplete fuel vaporization. Where is the main fuel strainer located in the aircraft fuel system? Answer: at the lowest point in the fuel system. Which type of pump is commonly used as a fuel pump on reciprocating engines? Answer: vane type pump. Under which of the following conditions will the trimming of a turbine engine be most accurate? Answer: no wind and low moisture. If a float-type carburetor becomes flooded, the condition is most likely caused by. Answer: a leaking needle valve and seat assembly. If an aircraft engine is equipped with a carburetor that is not compensated for altitude and temperature variations, the air-fuel mixture will become. Answer: richer as either the altitude or temperature increases. To determine the float level in a float type carburetor, a measurement is usually made from the top of the fuel in the float chamber to the answer, parting surface of the carburetor. If the fuel volume of air passing through a carburetor venturi is reduced, the pressure at the venturi throat will answer increase. At what engine speed does the main metering jet actually function as a metering jet in a float type carburetor? Answer: all RPMs above idle range. Fuel is discharged for idling speeds on a float type carburetor. Answer: from the idle discharge nozzle. What precaution should be taken when putting thread lubricant on a tapered pipe plug in a carburetor float valve? Answer: engage the first thread of the plug, then put a small amount of lubricant on the second thread and screw the plug in. Excessively rich or lean idle mixtures will result in answer: incomplete combustion. A fuel pressure relief valve is required on answer: engine-driven vane type fuel pumps. What occurs when a back suction type mixture control is placed on idle cutoff? Answer: the float chamber will be vented to a negative pressure area. Detonation occurs when the air-fuel mixture, answer, burns too fast. One of the things a metering orifice in a main air bleed helps to accomplish in a carburetor is, answer, better fuel vaporization and control of fuel discharge, especially at lower engine speeds. If an engine equipped with a float-type carburetor backfires or misses when the throttle is advanced, a likely cause is that the, answer, accelerating pump is not operating properly. Fuel pressure produced by the engine-driven fuel pump is adjusted by the, answer, relief valve adjusting screw. During what period does the fuel pump bypass valve open and remain open? Answer: when the boost pump pressure is greater than the fuel pump pressure. Fuel boost pumps are operated, answer, to provide a positive flow of the fuel to the engine. Idle cutoff is accomplished in a carburetor equipped with a back suction mixture controlled by, answer, introducing low pressure intake manifold air into the float chamber. Which statement is true regarding proper throttle rigging of an airplane? Answer: the throttle stop on the carburetor must be contacted before the stop in the cockpit. On a float type carburetor, the purpose of the economizer valve is to, answer, provide a richer mixture and cooling at maximum power output. A 9-cylinder radial engine using multiple point priming system with a central spider will prime which cylinders? Answer: 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9. An indication that the optimum idle mixture has been obtained occurs when the mixture control is moved to the idle cutoff and manifold pressure, answer, decreases and RPM increases momentarily before the engine ceases fire. One purpose of an air bleed in a float type carburetor is to, answer, decrease fuel density and destroy surface tension. What is a function of the idling air bleed in a float type carburetor? Answer: it aids in emulsifying / vaporizing the fuel at idle speeds. Which of the following statements concerning a centrifugal type fuel boost pump located in a fuel supply tank is not true? Answer: the centrifugal type pump is classified as a positive displacement pump. What method is ordinarily used to make idle speed adjustments on a float type carburetor? Answer: an adjustable throttle stop or linkage. A fuel strainer or filter must be located between the, answer, tank, outlet, and the fuel metering device. When a new carburetor is installed on an engine, answer, and the engine is warmed up to normal temperatures, adjust the idle mixture then the idle speed. The back suction mixture control system operates by, answer, varying the pressure acting on the fuel in a float chamber. Float type carburetors which are equipped with economizers are normally set for, answer, their leanest practical mixture delivery at cruising speeds and enriched by means of the economizer system at higher power settings. The Federal Aviation Regulations require the fuel flow rate for gravity systems, main and reserve, to be, answer, 150% of the takeoff fuel consumption of the engine. The throttle valve of flow-type aircraft carburetors is located, answer, between the venturi and the engine. A pilot reports that the fuel pressure fluctuates and exceeds the upper limits whenever the throttle is advanced. The most likely cause of the trouble is, answer, a sticking fuel pump relief valve. The density of air is very important when mixing fuel and air to obtain a correct fuel-to-air ratio. Which of the following weighs the most? Answer, 100 parts of dry air. How often should float carburetors be overhauled? Answer, at engine overhaul. Where is the engine fuel shutoff valve usually located? Answer, aft of the firewall. Fuel lines are kept away from sources of heat, and sharp bends and steep rises are avoided to reduce the possibility of, answer, vapor lock. A major difference between the Teledyne Continental and RSA Precision Air Motive or Benedict's continuous flow injection system in fuel metering is that the, answer, Continental system uses fuel pressure only as a metering force. A rotary vane pump is best described as a, answer, positive displacement pump. Which of the following is least likely to occur during operation of an engine equipped with a direct cylinder fuel injection system? Answer, backfiring. When air passes through the venturi of a carburetor, what three changes occur? Answer, velocity increases, temperature decreases, and pressure decreases. An excessively lean air-fuel mixture may cause, answer, an increase in cylinder heat temperature. Which of the following best describes the function of an automatic mixture control, AMC? Answer, it compensates for change in the air density due to temperature and altitude. What is the purpose of the carburetor accelerating system? Answer, temporarily enrich the mixture when the throttle is suddenly opened. Which of the following statements is true? Answer, the mixture used at idle in air-cooled reciprocating engines is richer than the mixture used at rated power. What is the purpose of an engine-driven fuel pump bypass valve? Answer, to prevent a damaged or inoperative pump from blocking the fuel flow of another pump in series with it. What will occur if the vapor vent float in a pressure carburetor loses its buoyancy? Answer, the amount of fuel returning to the fuel tank from the carburetor will be increased. What is a characteristic of a centrifugal type fuel boost pump? Answer, it separates air and vapor from fuel. Which of the following causes a single diaphragm accelerated pump to discharge fuel? Answer, an increase in manifold pressure that occurs when the throttle valve is opened. Where is the throttle valve located on a float type carburetor? Answer, after the main discharge nozzle and venturi. Fuel pump relief valves designed to compensate for atmospheric pressure variations are known as, answer, balanced type relief valves. What component is used to ensure fuel delivery during periods of rapid engine acceleration? Answer, acceleration pump. Refer to figure 6, the referred to questions. That's on you guys. Reciprocating engine power will be decreased at altitudes if the, answer, humidity is increased. An aircraft carburetor is equipped with a mixture control in order to prevent the mixture from becoming too, answer, rich at high altitude. When an electric primer is used, fuel pressure is built up by the, answer, booster pump. How will the mixture of an engine be affected if the bellows of the automatic mixture control AMC in a pressure carburetor ruptures while the engine is operating at altitude? Answer, it will become richer. If the main air bleed of a float type carburetor becomes clogged, the engine will run, answer, rich at rated power. What carburetor component measures the amount of air delivered to the engine? Answer, Venturi. The fuel pump relief valve directs excess fuel to the, answer, inlet side of the fuel pump. Boost pumps in a fuel system, answer, provide a positive flow of fuel to the engine pump. It is desirable that fuel lines have a gentle slope upward or downward and not have sharp curves or sharp rises and or falls in order to, answer, prevent vapor lock. If an engine is equipped with a float type carburetor and the engine runs excessively rich at full throttle, a possible cause of the trouble is clogged answer, main air bleed. What is the relationship between the accelerating pump and the enrichment valve in a pressure injection carburetor? No relationship, since they operate independently. What could cause a lean mixture and high cylinder head temperature at sea level or low altitudes? Answer, automatic mixture control stuck in the extended position. Which of the following is not a function of the carburetor venturi? Answer, regulates the idle system. Fuel cross-feed systems are used in aircraft to, answer, maintain aircraft stability. The purpose of the diaphragm in most vane-type fuel pumps is to, answer, compensate fuel pressures to altitude changes. The fuel level within the float chamber of a properly adjusted float-type carburetor will be, answer, slightly lower than the discharge nozzle outlet. A mixture ratio of 11:1 normally refers to, answer, 1 part fuel to 11 parts air. Most large aircraft reciprocating engines are equipped with which of the following types of engine-driven fuel pumps? Answer, rotary vane-type fuel pump. During the operation of an aircraft engine, the pressure drop in the carburetor venturi depends primarily upon the, answer, air velocity. The purpose of the back suction mixture control in a float-type carburetor is to adjust the mixture by, answer, regulating the pressure on the fuel in the float chamber. On a carburetor without an automatic mixture control, as the aircraft ascends to altitude, the mixture will, answer, be enriched. What is the relationship between the pressure existing within the throat of a venturi and the velocity of the air passing through the venturi? Answer, the pressure is inversely proportional to the velocity. When checking the idle mixture on a carburetor, the engine should be idling normally. Then pull the mixture control toward the idle cutoff position. A correct idling mixture will be indicated by, answer, an increase of 10 to 50 RPM before decreasing. The function of the altitude compensating or aneroid valve used with the Teledyne Continental fuel injection system on many turbocharged engines is to, answer, prevent an overly rich mixture during sudden acceleration. The use of less than normal throttle opening during starting will cause, answer, a rich mixture. What is the possible cause of an engine running rich at full throttle if it is equipped with a float type carburetor? Answer, clogged main air bleed. A carburetor is prevented from leaning out during quick acceleration by the, answer, accelerating system. Select the statement which is correct relating to a fuel level check of a float type carburetor. Answer, do not measure the level at the edge of the float chamber. Why must a float type carburetor supply a rich mixture during idle? Answer, because at idling speeds, the engine may not have enough airflow around the cylinders to provide proper cooling. Maximum power is normally considered to be developed in a reciprocating engine with the air-fuel mixture ratio of approximately, answer, 12:1. Which of the following statements is true? Answer, in a positive displacement pump, slippage is negligible compared to the pump's volumetric output flow. If the output port were plugged, pressure would increase and the pump pressure relief valve would open. Which statement is correct regarding the continuous flow fuel injection system used on many reciprocating engines? Answer, Fuel is injected at each cylinder intake port. The primary purpose of the air bleed openings used with continuous flow fuel injector nozzles is to answer, aid in proper fuel vaporization. A punctured float in a float type carburetor will cause the fuel level to answer, rise and enrich the mixture. During idle mixture adjustments, which of the following is normally observed to determine when the correct mixture has been achieved? Answer, changes in RPM or manifold pressure. What carburetor component limits the maximum airflow into the engine at full throttle? Answer, Venturi. What corrective action should be taken when a carburetor is found to be leaking fuel from the discharge nozzle? Answer, replace the needle valve and seat. The desired engine idle speed and mixture setting, answer, is adjusted with engine warmed up and operating. The fuel systems of aircraft certificated in the standard classification must include which of the following? Answer, a positive means of shutting off the fuel to all engines. Thank you for sticking through this.